Welcome, everyone. Farmers from the satellite location at Bordeaux's Research Station in St. Catherine are esteemed invitees here today, and viewers of the RADA socials, Facebook, Instagram, and RADA YouTube, along with TikTok. Welcome to episode 3 of the live streaming public information series. Just last week, December 8th, 2025, RADA continued our segment 2 of the Recovery and Resilience Forum, wherein technical directors from RADA provided us with updates on technical production and marketing strategies and plans that are now in place to assist our farmers. Those who have missed it, you may view this segment on RADA's YouTube page, eJamaican 101. This week is our grand finale, episode 3 of the live series. I am Camille Beckford, the Public Relation and Communication Director here at RADA. This communication initiative is designed to keep the public formally informed about the government's recovery interventions, provide real-time updates to farmers and stakeholders right across Jamaica, highlight the collaborative role of key agricultural agencies, and offer technical advice to support rapid production recovery. Farmers and viewers, you're asked to submit your questions via WhatsApp at 876-436-8879 or YouTube, RADA JM at Eat Jamaican 101. WhatsApp 876-436-8879. WhatsApp your questions. Allow me to now introduce our special guests today. The Honorable Floyd Green, Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining. Mr. Michael Price, Chairman of the Agricultural Disaster Task Force. Mr. Garnet Edmondson, the Chief Executive Officer of the Rural Agricultural Development Authority. Dr. Gavin Bellamy, the Chief Executive Officer for National Fisheries Authority. And Mr. Joseph Giles, the Chief Executive Officer of the National Irrigation Commission. And our special guest in the audience, Mr. Dennis Valdez, the Managing Director, Newport Fersan. Mr. Graham Dunkley, the Managing Director, Caribbean Chemical and Agency Limited. Mr. Benjamin Hadara, the Chief Executive Officer, Isratech Jamaica Limited. Jonathan Swire, the General Manager for Delta Supply Company. Ms. Marina Young, Principal Director for Technical Services. Mr. Owen Barrett, who is here, Principal Director for our Corporate Services. And Christine Forbes, Public Relations Specialist, NIC. From the media, we have Georgetta Williams, a reporter from the IRE FM. Our production team for this live broadcast, we welcome you all. Okay, so we will now commence episode 3 with an overview of the Agricultural Disaster Task Force from Mr. Michael Price, Chairman of the Task Force.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Minister, my fellow panelists, members of the audience, both here as well as in online. I am the co-chair of the Ministry of Agriculture Disaster Recovery Task Force. This task force was created in the wake of Hurricane Beryl in 2024, and it successfully dealt with the damages caused then, as well as those from Tropical Storm Raphael later in the year. The committee was retained within the ministry as a standing committee, and we went into full mobilization when it became clear that Melissa was going to impact Jamaica in some shape or form. The committee itself comprises a wide cross-section of the ministry's leadership, and it is mandated to coordinate and guide recovery efforts and provide update and information to the ministry, the agri-food sector, and stakeholders regarding the state of agricultural value chains and the supply of agricultural and fisheries produce to consumers. Some of the activities that we do, we coordinate with among the population. We identify areas of production shortfalls due to whatever damage there may be. And these, just to pause to say, damage can be disaster. In the case of this committee, refers to hurricanes, obviously, but other weather events or other disaster events. A earthquake, for instance, may fall within that, but drought, excessive rainfalls, etc. We will become active when there's a need for intervention within the sector. We do identify areas of production shortfalls, and we try to improve the efficiency of resource allocation and to ensure that production can be resumed as soon as it is possible. Where there is production taking place, we utilize the ministry's resources or organize with the private sector to ensure that produce is able to enter the marketplace in as efficient and effective a manner as possible. We, as a committee, facilitate awareness among stakeholders and the public on the status of the recovery efforts and about the availability, quantity, quality, price, service, and distribution of agricultural produce across the island. We provide information and guidance for continuity planning, both for distribution and production. We will coordinate the use of those areas best suited to be productive, like irrigated lands, to maximize production and productivity within the shortest possible timeframes, with specific emphasis on our agri-parks and other irrigated areas. And we are tasked with recommending courses of action to the Permanent Secretary and the Minister on measures to achieve the recovery of the sector. Some of the things that we are doing as a committee presently. As I said, we mobilized a few days before the hurricane hit, and the first thing we did subsequent to the Melissa hitting was to do a complete assessment along with agencies such as RADA and NFA on the damage that was effected to the sector. Coming out of that, we have been working with the agency to develop a recovery plan. There's a recovery plan in place, and coming out of that plans, we have been distributing inputs to farmers and fishers, and you will hear more from the executed agencies on those details. We have been looking at specific areas of damages like farm roads, trying to mobilize with the affected agencies to ensure that these areas of priority needs are dealt with. Looking at, for instance, with fisheries, to look at boat damage, repairs of beaches, beach cleanup, those sort of priority areas. We have been looking and ensuring that we forecast our readiness to provide marketing support when the recovery process starts. it's an unfortunate reality that following any disaster and a recovery effort, you tend to have a rush of people trying to recover, and that inevitably leads to some amount of dislocation in terms of too much production in certain areas and not enough distribution in place. So we're trying to ensure that we can stave off things like that, and we have enabled the mechanism to work on preventing that. And last and not least, definitely, we, as a major priority, Mr. Giles will speak more on it, we made sure that the irrigation infrastructure was there to support our farmers as they went back to start their production. I'll stop there for the time being.
As climate change is quite imminent, and upon us, this agricultural disaster task force is becoming even much more so important in coordinating the efforts to assist our farmers to fast-track recovery in the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa. And now we will have remarks from the hardworking, impactful, and absolutely dedicated Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries, and Mining. Yes, Minister Green.
All right, thank you very much, Camille. Let me start by just commending the RADA team for pulling together these series of engagements around recovery and resilience. I've always felt that a critical component of responding to any crisis has to be communication and providing platforms for the publics that we serve to be able to engage us and engage us fulsomely, and to hear from the people who are charged with the responsibility of leading the recovery effort. And I think over the last 3 weeks that you've been doing this, you have done very well. And I want to commend you, CEO, and the team from RADA. I was able to tune in your first session and to catch some of it. And then I saw Marina and a team, including Colin Henry. That was last week. So I think this is a great initiative. And I believe while this is your bringing the final episode, I would say the final episode of this phase, because I do believe that you should have monthly engagements of this nature. And I think now that you've worked out the model, you know, each time you have an engagement like this, you bring some farmers, as you've done, to a satellite location, and you know, focus on specific areas and give the opportunity to have that sort of dialogue. So I'm going to try and keep my remarks as short as possible, because I also recognize that sometimes, because we have so many people here that do so many good things, that by the time the presentations are done, there's limited time for questioning, right? So Hurricane Melissa has really struck a devastating blow to our agricultural sector. We've never seen this, the extent of damage that Melissa brought, we've never seen in our history in relation to agriculture. And clearly, when you say it like that, and when you look at the figures, whether you take our 30 billion or you take the World Bank 60 billion, it does sound like a very daunting task to bring agriculture back to where we were. And I say back to where we were because we were having an exceptional year in agriculture. We were having our best year ever in agriculture. Despite Hurricane Beryl, which was 2024, what we saw after Beryl and after the interventions were the farmers and fishers really going back out and trying to do their utmost to do what they love, which is to feed Jamaica. And our last figures for the third quarter of the year, we were tracking about 7%, Mr. Price, or ahead of our best year ever. We had forecasted that we would have hit a production of 900,000 tons for the first time in our history, and this is just passing 700,000 tons in 2022. That was the first time we passed 700,000 tons, and then going up to 800,000 tons. So we were really looking good, and Hurricane Melissa really came at the worst possible time. And I say that because, as everybody knows, when you look at our agricultural cycle, farmers would have been getting ready for the Christmas season and would have been now saying this is where they're going to really return to profitability after Hurricane Beryl. So it's for most of our farmers, it's been a double blow. But what the Beryl experience showed us and what we have implemented now through Hurricane Melissa is that if you have strategic interventions that are effective and widespread, then you can drive a quick recovery. So we have institutionalized our disaster management framework, and we've institutionalized now our response framework in the form of our Hurricane Melissa Disaster Recovery Task Force, which came after our Beryl experience. And what that allows us to do is to streamline benefits, to keep track of those benefits and to avoid duplication, and also to quickly pick up where there are areas of shortfall that we can fill and plug those gaps. So you would have heard us start out with our chairman of that team, Sir Price, significant experience, and that brings together all avenues of the ministry. So at least we are completely aware of what everybody is doing, and we can try and pull that together and communicate. So that's one element. The second thing is that we've learned now that we have to prepare for some weather event, and as such, we don't wait until the weather event happens to start the preparation. And we've now institutionalized ensuring that we have some things stored away to be able to respond as quickly as possible, because we have seen the quicker you respond is the better and more effective the response becomes. And it has the impact of shortening the time frame in terms of our return to where we want to go. So whether it be our fisheries sector, whether it be through RADA and through the NIC, which I'll speak a little bit about, I think we're doing a better job of preparing for these events. So RADA would have had seeds on hand at the time when Hurricane Melissa struck, so we were able to quickly get out and start that distribution. Clearly targeted, not wide scale as we're doing now, targeted to the farmers who were able to go again. And that's where we had to start. And I think RADA had about 6,500 packs of seeds and quickly distributed those in the 2 weeks after Melissa. We had some fertilizer on hand, 2,000 bags were distributed in that time frame. And that gives us the opportunity to see some of the returns that we're seeing now with crops that are 6-week crops already re-emerging. So we are already seeing good uptick in production of things like lettuce. And if you go to the RADA page, you will hear the farmer saying, quite frankly, he got out early, but if he never got the fertilizer, he would have had a challenge. And now he's reaping his lettuce at a good price to go out into the market to make some returns. So that's important. And there's the same approach in terms of fisheries. Fisheries were able to get out in 2 weeks after Melissa and start distributing wire to those fishers who lost their pots. And, you know, our fisheries sector was significantly hit. Over 3,000 boats that have been damaged, and almost all our fishers lost almost all their pots. Probably over 90% of the pots at sea are no longer there. And as such, getting out and targeting the areas that the fishers were able to go again, and we've done distribution in multiple fishing beaches, I'm sure the CEO will speak a little bit about it, has helped to start the process of returning, start the process of recovery. Additionally, it's important not just to prepare, but to build resilience from storm to storm, from hurricane event to hurricane event. So definitely the NIC was better prepared now than Hurricane Beryl by having some backup generation capacity so that they could get to the pumps and get the systems up and running and get the farmers the water that they need to go again. Because again, the farmers may be willing, but if they don't have access to things like water, then they're going to have challenges. And I think at my last check, which was about 4 weeks after Hurricane Melissa, we were at 80% of our systems operational, serving over 90% of our customers, which I think is much better than our Hurricane Beryl experience. And clearly what we want to do is to ensure that each time we can reach a stage that as quickly as the farmers are ready to go, the NIC is ready with all the systems. So what you will find is that we will continue to put in the institutional framework around disaster to build resilience and ensure that we are prepared for these weather events. And then finally, the government will continue to look at the scale of the disaster and to respond. We are now in the process of implementing a $3 billion response program through our various agencies. And if you look around, every agency has been activated and is now on the ground. Whether it be RADA distributing seeds, fertilizer, or chicken, and hosting their RADA Connect series, whether it be the National Fisheries Authority, again, embarking on going to fishing beaches and helping them, not just with things like wire, but putting in generators to ensure that you have the fuel that you can go, or the NIC, not just doing the generators, but also doing social water, or the Agro-Invest Corporation that's working on their 1,000-acre boost program, where they're going to the agri-parks and providing input support. We are now firmly in the process of implementing the government's recovery program. Now, it will take some time to get to all the farmers. And every time farmers hear some of the numbers and some of the figures, they say, but what happened to me? I don't know what's going on. And that may be true because we have over 70,000 farmers that have been impacted, and each week what I can tell you is that we will reduce the numbers of those who have not yet received some form of support, but it will take us some time. So I want the farmers to bear with us. I want the fishers to bear with us. It will take us some time to get to as many of you as possible, but just understand that we're coming and understand that the government will stand with you in this time. So I look forward to your questions. I look forward to hearing from the heads of agencies. Remember, these are the people who make the underground thing happen. The minister just give the directions. So I will turn over to them now. Thank you, Camille.
Thank you, Minister. And we will surely bring the charge for the monthly engagement and dialogue for this to continue. And the strategic interventions that the Minister mentioned to put the production in line, we thank him for providing us with that information. And now, for the Chief Executive Officers that makes the recovery interventions become implemented, and also to highlight the collaborative efforts between each of the agencies. We now begin with Mr. Garnet Edmondson, the Chief Executive Officer for RADA.
Good evening, everyone. Let me also join our chairman this evening to welcome the Minister, Honorable Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining, Mr. Floyd Green, our other CEOs and our disaster, our recovery chairman, also our stakeholders that are here with us this afternoon, and those persons who have joined us on the social media space. It's important that we recognize that our agencies are working to recover agriculture. Of course, Minister, I've said a lot, and I'll try not to repeat some of the things that you would have mentioned, but to bring you to where we are as RADA, where are we? So, of course, immediately after the hurricane, we'd have started our damage assessment, and we have then moved into immediate farmer re-engagement and total recovery program, which would entail land preparation. Of course, we're seeing out there where our farmers are preparing land, they are getting their livestock back together. We, as RADA, have re-engaged our farmers quickly through these processes, including mobilization of government and private tractors. Extension support focuses on short cycle crops and stage re-entry into the livestock production. Another approach is that we are taking is a targeted input distribution with accountability controls. Seeds, fertilizer, and other agricultural inputs are distributed based on verified farmer and data that we would have gathered. As I said before, we're focusing on presently short cycle crop. As you'd have heard Minister say, just after the hurricane, we have farmers who we get back out there with lettuce. We're seeing where cabbage is coming back. We're seeing where cucumbers and all those other crops are coming back. So, of course, we are giving this a push. We reinforce the distribution protocol because, of course, we heard the echoes of farmers speaking about challenges with distribution. And, of course, we continue to encourage persons to point out these challenges because that's the only way we are going to fix these challenges. So as we move along, we try to fix and we maintain what is good. Now, the approach, and I want to be very pointed with the approach in terms of our recovery program in a decentralized way where it is parish-based, where we ensure that we mobilize all our parish offices, and we have included not only our RADA Connect, but mobile clinics that will be in particular communities that were cut off and communities that are still there where the support is hard to get to. So, of course, we are pushing in those communities to make sure that we reach every farmer. We have since rolled out a strategic plan for the western parishes. We have been, just after the storm, focusing on the eastern parishes to make sure that we get production back up and running for those parishes that were not badly affected. But now we have seen where our farmers are reaching out, and we think that based on our assessment, our farmers in the western parishes are ready to go. Just yesterday, I heard Minister made a comment of a chicken farmer who said to him that, you know, one of the things that she did was look at whether to put on a roof or put on build back the chicken coop. So, and the farmer said that is what she did to get the business up and running. So, of course, we are supporting these farmers. We are pushing. Come tomorrow, we'll be in Westmoreland with our RADA Connect to make sure that we get these farmers' business back up and running. Lastly, we are ensuring that we have a strong coordination of monitoring and evaluation, regular reporting from our parish and zonal team to support our execution of our programs, and continuous engagement with our parent ministry, member of parliaments, donors, all stakeholder media has what we are doing now to make sure that the information is out there. This aligns with our core value in terms of visibility, building back farmer confidence, and ensuring that we build back a stronger agricultural sector. It is also important to note that we recognize that there are farmers who their livelihood is based upon tree crops. And of course, we have not been saying much about this, Mr. Price, but rest assured that there is an active plan afoot to address and is presently addressing the number of these crops. We have recognized that crops such as breadfruit, soursop, sweetsop, you name it, have been damaged, particularly the western part of Jamaica, and we are moving to ensure that we address these challenges associated with these crops. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now for Dr. Gavin Benamy.
Good evening, and all protocols observed. And let me get quickly into it. The National Fisheries Authority, with the support of the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining, is taking decisive and sustained action to support our fishers and fish farming communities following the passage of Hurricane Melissa. Our comprehensive relief program is designed to get the fishers and fish farmers back on the water, restore their livelihoods, and rebuild critical infrastructure, especially with the support and guidance of our ministers, Green and Witter, and the support of Mr. Price and the Disaster Task Force. Let me firstly remind all our fishers and fish farmers in the most affected areas that there is a 6-month moratorium on license and registration fees, which started from November the 12th, 2025, and will go on to May 11, 2026. So registered fishers in Clarendon, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, and St. Anne, please take advantage of this opportunity. Also, we urge fishers who don't have to renew but have lost their license and IDs. You can reach out to the National Fisheries Authority to benefit from this measure. We'll reprint them for you at no cost. We have been doing distribution of critical fishing gear to beaches where fishers are able to go out. So the NFA has distributed at this time over 1,000 rolls of fishing wire valued over $20 million to fishers across, I think, 26 beaches in multiple parishes, with the support of the ministry and some private sector and government partners such as JSIF, Bread's Foundation, Sandals Foundation. Some of the beaches are Alligator Pond in Manchester, Pudgee, Aracabessa, Bosca Bay, Robbins Bay, Anotta Bay in St. Mary. In Kingston and St. Andrew, we did 7 miles, 9 miles, Pigeon Shoot, Greenwich Town. Those were the beaches. Hunts Bay, New Forum, Old Harbour Fishing Beach in St. Catherine. Calabash Bay, French Bay and Billy's Bay, Great Bay, Fort Charles, Sly, Parity, and Black River Fishing Beaches in St. Elizabeth. We did Rocky Point and Beaumont, or Portland Cottage, as most people know it, in Clarendon. We did Hopewell and Lances Bay in Hanover, White House in Westmoreland. Just this very week, the NFA is doing additional distribution for so much as we procured 2,000 rolls of wire valued at over $30 million to distribute. Today, we are distributing wire in St. James and Trelawney. The team is still there, and tomorrow we will be in Alligator Pond, Manchester, distributing wire again, and we'll be joined by the ministry's team to have a Christmas village at the Alligator Pond Primary School. And Monday, we'll be in St. Thomas distributing fishing supplies. During the period from the beginning, we have given out over 300 care packages donated by Food for the Poor. Along the west, we have given out ice donated by Rainforest, Caribbean, and B&D Trawling. Belmont, so those were done in the western side of the island. Assistance with gear and cleaning up, because one of the main problems that happened was access to the beaches, and the boats and everything were covered by debris. So the major assessments have been completed, and we have contracted manpower who at this time are doing the work at the White House Fishing Beach in Westmoreland, and that work should be completed by this weekend, and we'll move on to Black River, Galleon, Grange Pen, and have those places done. So basically, that is just some of the things that we have been doing through the National Fisheries Authority to support our fishers and fish farmers to get them back into business, to support our food security and our access to marine and fisheries products. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bellamy. Now, Mr. Joseph Giles, CEO and National Irrigation Commission.
Thank you very much, Camille. Minister, colleagues, stakeholders, in the wake of Hurricane Melissa, our nation has once again been reminded of the vulnerability of our food systems and the critical importance of strong and reliable infrastructure. Today I share the work undertaken by the NIC Limited as we support the national recovery led by the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining. A man once said that a man with an experience is not at the mercy of a man with an argument. And this committee, we have learned from Beryl, and thus we went ahead with the effort from the ministry for doing some forward planning. And with that, we had a number of generators. The NIC is divided into 3 regions, the Eastern, Central, and the Western region. The Eastern region has a network of canals where we are served by a gravity system. The Central region is a gravity system, but the water source is all from deep wells. And the Western region, all of those are deep wells and in a pipe network. What it means, Melissa shut down the entire NIC. We were unable to supply 1 simple gallon of water. However, I want to use this opportunity to thank the staff, because we have some wonderful staff. I'm saying day one, the staff were out there. And after 4 days, we were able to get some of our system up and running. As we speak, NIC is able to serve 95% of its customer. Some of the system, we still have not received power source from JPSCO. We don't know when. But because the ministry would have funded this operation, we are able to be supplying water to all our districts. I'm going to say this. The NIC has trucked over 4 million gallons of water to about 70 different communities in the parishes that are hit badly by Melissa. But not that alone. We have distributed, Minister, 37 million gallons of water through the regular system. If I'm to put a cost to that we have done, that is over $120 million worth of water. But it doesn't stop there. We have distributed this water free of cost. So the farmers have gotten a rebate from the NIC, and we have given them a moratorium. So farmers in the affected area, let me make it clear, are not paying any bill until the end of January. So the NIC appreciate the effort of our farmers. So we are committed to the cause to ensure that farmers are up and running in the shortest possible time. What are we doing? In the canals network, we have a number of these canals that were silted. So as we speak, we are continuing doing the desilting of those canals. But in all the canals, we can still serve our water, and we are still serving water. Let's be reminded, we have a drainage system that we are responsible for the upper and lower Black River morass. A lot of persons believe Santa Cruz was flooded, but it is because of the effort of the NIC. If we were not there, Santa Cruz would be more and more devastation. So as we speak, we are continuing the drainage cleaning. You're talking about we're cleaning over 2,000 kilometers annually per cycle to clean drains in those areas. The restoration continues because there are still areas that we have not yet received electricity, but we are still using the generator, and we are working in partnership with the JPSCO to ensure that those stuff are restored as soon as possible. We are committed to the cause. There's a system in Trelawney. We have 2 pump stations. One is operating as we speak. The other has some mechanical problems. So what we are ensuring that we get that one repaired quick in short order, and then we'll put another generator there. So we are committed to the cause. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It is heartening to know that our agencies are working assiduously in order for us to build back after Hurricane Melissa. And now it's the time for questions. So we're going to ask the media that is in the audience to ask your questions. And after which we will take questions from our WhatsApp group and the satellite stations. So prepare yourself, satellite. We're coming.
All right, so Mr. Garnett, what's your last name? Edmondson. All right, you did mention that farmers in the eastern parishes started to replant crops. You did mention things like lettuce, cucumber, cabbage. Now, my question to you is, scallion prices is at a high still. And we know that St. Elizabeth was severely damaged, and you did mention that you're going down to the west. Could you give me an update on to if there is any scallion being planted in that area, or any update as it relates to scallion or any other cash crops that is being replanted now?
Thank you. Let me clarify. So there are areas in the western part of Jamaica that are presently under production, right? So, for instance, St. Anne, part of St. Elizabeth, the minister is from St. Elizabeth, so I better be careful about that, right? So, when I spoke about cabbage that we saw, lettuce, we're talking about St. Anne area, Manchester, scallion will come back. There are parts of St. Elizabeth now that we are seeing that scallion is being planted. And of course, there are even areas in Trelawney that we're seeing that is taking up the scallion and watermelon. So, yes. Manchester. And Manchester. Thank you, Mr. Price. And Manchester. So, of course, rest assured, it's a period that we have to go through when we will see prices rise. That's just basic economics. And, of course, as soon as supply has reached a particular level, we'll see the prices trending down. Unfortunately, that is what it is. We are working with nature, and we have to wait for the crops to grow. You'd have seen with us our input suppliers, and of course, if they could have developed a miracle fertilizer, they would have done so already. So we understand that the consumers are feeling in their pockets, but of course, we're doing everything to make sure that we get our farmers back up and running.
Let me just pick up on the CEO point, and I pick up his last point. Some of these crops is going to take us some time. Scallion is definitely one of them. You know, our heavy production scallion area was hard hit in terms of flooding, and then there are other challenges that predated Hurricane Melissa in terms of pests and treating with that in terms of the production cycle. So some of these things will take us some time. As the CEO rightly said, part of what we're doing is diversifying in terms of in areas that may not be traditionally known for items. For example, scallion is the seeing if we can get some of the farmers to work with the RADA team to plant some of those things, right? So some things will take some time, but definitely there is a sort of comprehensive strategy to see how we can get all things as back as quickly as possible.
Good evening, everyone. Hearing me? Thank you, Minister, and your team for the opportunity. Luke Douglas from the Gleaner here. So just asking about those farmers in the West who would have lost machinery and motor vehicles, trucks, vans that they use in agriculture. Could you say if there's any program for these farmers to get loans, grants, so that they can replace these lost equipment and motor vehicles in particular?
Yeah, thank you, Luke. You know, one of the things that you find with Hurricane Melissa is that the extent of the damage is widespread and spreads across a number of different areas. So here is a very good one. Clearly, we've been working with our financial partners like the DBJ to see, especially for our medium-sized farmers to large farmers who had significant equipment loss, right, to see how the DBJ can help finance their retooling. Right, the DBJ has launched an M5 program, which they start with us to ensure that it would be accessible. It really is going to target farmers as one of the main areas, and especially farmers that are looking to retool. Clearly, we are going to continue to use our product input relief system. We do have a system at the ministry where farmers can bring in machinery without duty, and we're going to redouble efforts to say to farmers that we can provide that sort of support. I know the PC Bank also is looking at its clientele to see what can happen, especially in relation to moratoriums, things like that. They're not directly under the Ministry of Agriculture, but based on the discussions that we've had thus far, those are some of the considerations. We are also, from the ministry perspective now, in terms of trying to ensure that RADA has the equipment base that can help as much farmers as possible. We're continuing on our trajectory to provide RADA with additional equipment support. So, you know, one of the things that we are doing a little differently now, normally when you have a hurricane like Hurricane Melissa or when we had Beryl, in the past it used to be that you repurpose the money that you had to do recovery. Now, because of better financial instruments, insurance, things of that nature, we're able to have a recovery budget and still to continue on our path. Because a lot of the things that we were looking to do before Melissa are even more important now since Melissa. So, for example, we had earmarked to provide RADA with some tractors. Right, we're going to continue that. Some of them are already en route. We had said we're going to do 6 walk-behind tractors. I see our partners here from Delta. We have provided that to the RADA team. We've done 6 soil augers, which are to help our farmers in terms of hole digging, right? Especially our yam farmers now would need that sort of support to make them more efficient. So we're going to continue to help RADA in terms of having that equipment base so that the farmers, until they retool, will be able to reach out. Finally, we have said that we're providing free tractor service for the next 6 months, right? And it's not just using the RADA tractors. We're also saying to the private sector, people who may have equipment in an area that's not being utilized, reach out to us. Let us bring that into our repository and provide that to the farmers. Clearly, we'll enter into arrangements with you, and clearly the farmers will get it on a subsidized rate. But instead of having equipment that's not being utilized, let us work together to put that equipment to use.
Okay. All right, so my final question, I wanted to find out about sorrel. I know we are approaching the Christmas season. I know before Hurricane Melissa, there was some shortage last year as regards to sorrel. So I wanted to find out what the sorrel sector, the sorrel quantity is at now, and will we have any sorrel for Christmas, that is.
You see, we're juggling who should take the question because, you know, I really can't give you a number. Right? I know that we are challenged with a number of issues surrounding sorrel. One is labor. That's a major challenge. It's not difficult planting sorrel, but it's very difficult reaping. We'd have invested in the technology to reap. It's still in the infancy stage. So of course we're looking to use that technology to solve that problem. But to really answer your question, of course, like many other crops, sorrel was damaged during the hurricane. So of course you'll see less on the market at this time. I think it will be our first Christmas with limited sorrel. I expect, based on my tour, I'm seeing where farmers are planting, sorrel, because we have come to accept that sorrel is a year-round crop now. It's not just Christmas time. And one of the things that we have recognized for a long time between the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining and RADA, we recognize that sorrel is used for not only a drink, but now we're talking about medicinal properties. So we are pushing to get farmers to embrace this. And we are seeing across the Trelawney Belt, the St. Catherine Belt, even some areas in St. Elizabeth, Manchester, where farmers are putting in sorrel. Our last, around 3 weeks ago, we see where Bodles would have presented rather with packages. I can't remember the total, but it was quite a bit, sorrel seeds. Those are now in the hands of farmers across the country. And we expect that very soon our sorrel production will be back to pre-Melissa production.
What's the farm gate price at this time?
So we don't have that offhand, but you can check. We have our JAMIS system that we update every week in relation to farm gate price. And I want to say to consumers in general, to utilize the systems to look. Clearly, we do expect that there will be increase in prices across most of our agriculture produce lines, but it's also still good to be armed to see what people are paying at the farm gate, because people also use this opportunity, this cover, to go above and beyond. Right? So we say to people, look, check the prices and engage, and try to engage farmers directly as well.
Okay, so we will be taking 2 questions from the WhatsApp and the satellite group. Please ready yourselves. We'll be coming to you next. So this one is from Mr. Garnet Edmondson. Can you update on the status of the St. James Parish office?
Of course, we're happy to update you on this. As you know, the St. James office suffered grave damage. I think of all our parish offices, well, you can twin that with St. Anne. The damage was extensive. So where we are now, we are out of the emergency procurement stage with the main building, but what we have done is to retrofit out offices on the compound, because for persons in and around St. James will know that we have quite a large compound, so we have retrofitted out offices, and those will become operational this next Monday morning. We have also retrofitted another building that was used for our processing to have our team back up and ready. So come next Monday, all our team will be in those 3 buildings for accepting our farmers and other customers.
Okay, thank you. And now for Dr. Bellamy. If my boat or engine was damaged, what support is available and how do I access it?
Thank you for that question. The National Fisheries Authority, our extension officers, our data collectors, and our compliance officers are out there doing detailed assessments. If you had a boat or engine damage, I would have hoped or expected that you would have reported it into one of our offices by this. And one of the things that we'll be commencing in the next couple of weeks, starting next week, Monday, will be the distribution of vouchers to support fishers and fish farmers who have lost or had damaged equipment, for them to bounce back. There are other things that we have for the aquaculture sector, support for them, but for that specific question, we'll be supporting. The person just has to come into the office and make a formal report.
And for Mr. Giles, if I don't belong to a formal irrigation scheme, can NIC still assist me?
Well, we have a tracking system depending on how close you are, but if you reach out to us, we'll give you if it is possible.
All right, and now for a satellite site. Our satellite site is at Bodle's Research Station in St. Catherine.
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Howard Perry, and I'm from the Borders, but I do my small farming in the St. Catherine Hills. You know, the minister spoke about double road, that I can't go. There is, and then Melissa, I do small poultry and also catch crop. Now, my bigger friend, he went to the insurance because he could afford it. But we have small farmers, we are financially strapped. So I want to know if the ministry have any plans where they can implement insurance for the small farmers that we can resort to, because yes, all of our finances there. So in the ministry, and the plans where they can implement insurance for the small farmers, so as to alleviate some of our expenses. Then number 2 question is, for instance, if I want to divert to rear goat and cattle, if there is any help for small farmers in that area. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sir Perry. Appreciate your question. So there is insurance for the small farmer, and it's something that we work very hard on, and that we know we'll have to work with our various teams through RADA to ensure that all farmers know and also know that there is access. So we had met with our insurance companies and we had gotten GK Insurance to take on board an insurance scheme for our small farmers, a parametric insurance scheme that protects farmers against weather-related events. You can insure against drought, you can insure against wind, you can insure against excessive rainfall. That scheme works. We've been through multiple things now since that scheme has been put in place. We've been through Hurricane Beryl and farmers got paid. We went through Tropical Storm Raphael, small farmers got paid. And now with Hurricane Melissa, over 100 farmers were paid. The vast majority of them, in fact, were small farmers because we do have an initiative at the ministry where the ministry is willing to pay the base insurance rate for farmers. So we will pay, the base rate is like $3,500 and the ministry will pay that for you. So if you sign up and if you are in what will be the first 2,000, then we're covering it for 2,000 farmers. And this, I think definitely we will do more. But we want to see the 2,000 spaces full. How does it work? So as a parametric scheme, what that means is that it is tied to triggers, yes? So you sign up for $3,000, it's not tied to the value that you lose, it's tied to how much you sign up for. Sorry, so the premium that you pay. So let's say, for example, you sign up for $3,000, $3,500, and the weather event is like Hurricane Melissa. So it's a Category 5 storm. So it would trigger the highest payout possible. And for 3,000, that highest payout is like $50,000. But again, 3,000 is the base. So we have farmers who've gone in for 50,000, and you get multiples of that depending on the level of the trigger. So what I would say to you, Sir Berry, contact your RADA office. The parish managers are well aware, and they also know that we're signing up people now. It is in season 3. So again, we are forecasting that we're going to see some very dry times. So again, I think now is a good time to sign up for the insurance. In relation to support for your small ruminants and things of that nature, I think that was the second question. Yes, what you will see over the next month or so is rather engaging in initiatives around everything. So we just started our poultry initiative where we're helping our small poultry farmers build back. We'll be distributing 100,000 birds over the next month or so. And we started that yesterday. We're going to be doing some distribution also around small ruminants. And we can provide some support in relation to cattle depending on what the need is. So again, it's best reach out to your extension officer, reach out to your parish manager. Let us see how we can assist.
Okay, and the satellite station has another question. I believe you have 2 questions in total. Well, 2 persons to ask questions.
Hello, good afternoon, Christopher here. This question is to NIT. The other day, my brother, right after Melissa, my brother, Michael Kota, work from here. No receipt showing that, or no notice showing that, okay, Mr. So-and-so, your pipe or Kota, and so on. And then we have another leak, big leak. There's a fish on the turnout. We tell the person about it and to know, right to know it is no farm here. All right, remember in Bush Park, we had Mr. Smith from GK Insurance shows that we have can get insurance in these times with a show or so. But what we know, we haven't seen that person back again, and I tried contacting that person to know here. So if it's still on, what's up with that?
Yes, sorry, I didn't get your name, but if you just give me a name, I'll just check on that for you. And I'll ensure that that leak, you say it's a pond. I'm sort of disappointed, but I'll check on that for you. So just give me a name or the name of the person that you say water was disconnected.
Yeah, that water is burning and pouring.
Okay, thanks.
The era is go farm era.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right?
Yeah, man, I heard you.
Yeah, in relation to the insurance, we'll have to do some checks. Not sure who was Mr. Smith, but again, if you contact the RADA office, they should be able to guide you through the process, and they will get somebody to touch base with you. So if you leave your information as well, I'm very sure we could get somebody to reach out to you directly.
All right. So we'll take 2 other questions from WhatsApp, then we can go back to the satellite station if they have another. Can the processing of farmer ID card be done in the field, especially farmers who lost them?
So there's a process to the farmer ID in terms of the verification. We have been ramping up our distribution of farmer IDs, our verification process. It's very difficult to issue IDs on spot because you want to check the authenticity of the information provided. So for now, I would say no, we can't, just because of that one area, to make sure that information is true to type. But I don't know in the near future if we will be able to. But what I can say to you, in the next 3 months, you'll see a definite push through our RADA Connect, through our mobile app, to assist with the distribution of farmers' ID to make sure that the turnaround time is less than what it is now. Our minister have mandated us. The last time we spoke on this matter was around maybe Monday morning, a matter of fact. We spoke, and he would have said to us, we need to clear up the backlog in this system. We need to ensure that the turnaround time is much faster. And of course, our ICT team is looking into that matter now. Just to give you an update where we will go, you farmers will be able to now apply for their IDs on the mobile app. Presently, wherever our RADA Connect team goes, they can apply for their ID, and also we have been issuing a number of IDs at our RADA Connect forum. So rest assured, we are fixing this. We also have a number of stakeholders who are knocking at our door to make sure that our ID stand up to the test of time, and to make sure that the authenticity of this ID can be something that is valid. So in doing so, you'll see where we will be offering discounts from some of these stakeholders when persons would have buying to the ID system. So it's exciting days ahead for the farmer ID. It's an important tool in what we would use for identification of farmers. So I say to our farmers, still sign up. Make sure that you have this ID. It is how we identify you. It is how you identify with RADA. It is a legitimate way of saying that you are a farmer. So continue to do so, and we'll build out a system to assist you as best as we can.
Okay, and Mr. Valdez from the audience. Microphone, please. Okay.
Good evening. This is for Mr. Edmondson. How does RADA envision deeper structured collaboration with the private sector, particularly input suppliers and agronomic service providers, to accelerate recovery and improve resiliency going forward?
A simple yes. A simple yes. You see, this is why I would have invited our stakeholders to this forum. Just this morning, we were at Hypro Feeds, where they are assisting our poultry farmers. We have been talking to Caribbean Chemicals, who have been assisting also Delta Supplies on board. Isratech recently adopted one of our greenhouses, and they are going to modernize that greenhouse. So, of course, the conversation continues. And we would love to see a strong private-public partnership, because that's the only way we are going to build out agriculture. In research and development, we must invite the University of West Indies College of Agriculture on board with partners like Isratech, Caribbean Chemical, Delta Supply, you name it, so we can together build out this space and make agriculture the backbone of Jamaica's economy again. So yes, I welcome any meeting, any forum. I wish we can start tomorrow morning to talk about research and development. I'm excited about this. And, you know, we must do it. In the new year, we must sit down to say where we are going with agriculture. Minister, if you may, just this morning, I was having a conversation with Colonel Ogilvie. And one of the things that he was saying is that we have to look at how we push to get the concept of the PC banks into the credit unions, so that farmers are able to access more of what facilities that the DBJ is offering. So, of course, there's another conversation of private and public partnership. So, yes, we welcome.
Just to say a couple of things. First is to thank the private sector. I'll start from there. I think it's very critical, especially with the extent of the devastation caused by Hurricane Melissa, that we all take a sort of all-hands-on-deck approach towards the recovery. And a number of our private sector partners have stepped up in a big way, including Newport Firsan, which have handed over about 25 million in agricultural inputs, fertilizer, as a part of a bigger $40 million program. Today we were at Hypro, and we've gotten good support from Hypro in terms of them handing over inputs to go to the farmers. We know that almost all our agricultural companies have been on the ground. Isratech has taken a broad view and has worked on water solutions, which have been very impactful, and Caribbean Chemicals. We've seen that they have been on the ground in the areas most impacted. So it's critical that the private sector sees itself as an essential part of the recovery effort, right? The government is very clear, as much as we speak about our programs and our agencies and what we're doing. If we're going to move quickly, it will take the private sector to help us in that regard, either through direct support, which we think is important so that we can ensure that we're not duplicating effort, right? Or just in your day-to-day activities, expanding your reach and helping as much as possible. So that's one. I think one of the things that we have to strengthen is especially post-disaster training for our farmers. The reality is that we are in a new reality in relation to our climate, and we see it every year. And I think while the ministry and RADA, our main extension agency, does do a fair job of having robust training sessions, we have to find a way to better tailor that through working with the private sector. You all have experts in your various areas. It's something that you do on a private basis with farmers. I think we can amplify that. I know, for example, Isratech has been working on a farmer field school type activity and had a session where it brought in a number of farmers, and clearly when Isratech invites them, they have to come, right? And the capacity to provide and to scale up some of what we're doing, I think the private sector has that ability, so I definitely want to see more of that. Additionally, I think every time we have a disaster is a good time to look at how we can strengthen these linkages. I think every agricultural company should have a set of scholarships that they are offering to help us train the people we need in the various areas. Irrigation support, plant genetics, animal genetics. We have said through the ministry we want to partner with the private sector to have a slew of scholarships that we can train our people, not just here but abroad, right? So that as we build out our research capacity again through our projects at Bodles and our research stations, we have to have the human capital. So since I have a captive private sector audience, if you haven't yet committed 1, 2, or 3 scholarships, now is a very good time for us to be able to come to the country and say, you know, Isratech is offering some water management scholarships, or Caribbean Chemicals is offering, you know, some plant genetic scholarships. It's very important. Delta, you're not left out, right? So I'm very serious. We are spending about $6 billion at retooling our research centers. And we want to ensure that when that work is done, we have the people to work in those research areas. And no matter how good we do in agriculture, we won't progress faster than our research capacity, right? So it's very, very important. So I think there are real and tangible ways, Sir Valdez, that we can work on, and that we have to take on this recovery as partners, right? And I think, you know, we've already gotten some support, and we have our task force, and I think it's very important that 3 months after we sit down and look and see where we're doing well, where we're falling short, and how we can redouble our efforts.
Okay, thank you. And now for the final question from WhatsApp. What flood mitigation measures are planned for farmers in low-lying or flood-prone communities like mine, and that is Bushy Park?
I don't understand these technical guys. So, so what I'll say, normally irrigation and drainage goes hand to hand.
Yes.
What NIC, as a minister said, that all irrigation schemes that we're developing from here henceforth, we should ensure it has a drainage component. Unfortunately, Bushy Park is a low-lying area. While it can be drained, it will take a lot of engineering activity to ensure that that area is not flooded. I would say maybe you need what you call a detention ponds to sort of detain the water and just make not that large volume goes down into Bushy Park at any given time, because it is the low-lying area. So it's a very difficult area to drain.
No, yeah, I think Mr. Jazz was comprehensive. In general, and we've said it to all our teams and to our farmers, that sometimes we don't think about drainage, and it's something that we have to change, because not only are we seeing elevated heat, we're seeing these sharp bursts of torrential rainfall that would flood even areas that are not low-lying. So I think it's very critical. I know RADA has been strengthening their on-field management, water management support, and working with the NIC. It's very critical that farmers think about that as they're planning their farms. Additionally, we have to look at different systems of farming. So yes, we're larger outdoor farmers, but there are other things. And sometimes we are deterred by the costs up front. but we end up spending more. In the long run, we're going to be distributing some vertical hydroponic kits as a part of our processes through RADA, as a part of our backyard program, but not just for backyard farmers. We're going to introduce these to some of our outdoor farmers. Because again, one of the things that I saw in preparing for Hurricane Melissa, the Jamaica Tower Farms, which is a farm that is completely made up of vertical hydroponic systems, what they did was disassemble the farm and lock it up. And then when Melissa passed, they reassembled the farm. So the concept of a farm is very different now. And I think some of the farmers in some of these areas where you're prone to these issues will have to look at a mixed system. So you run some of your farm through these vertical hydroponic systems. Clearly we can provide the technical support. You still have some outdoor, but in that way you build resilience so you don't have a complete loss when we have events of this nature.
Okay. Mr. Dunkley.
Ladies and gentlemen, panel. First, I'd like to commend RADA on this initiative. I'd like to thank the RADA team for the work that they've been doing and continue to do. As we're in crops, I'm not so much into the fishing, Gavin. I'll eat fish though. But just to say that we know that the RADA team was affected, as were all of us, by the storm, and they're out there in the field, and I want to say on behalf of us, thank you very much for the work that you do. It does not go unnoticed. I'd also like to thank the government for the long overdue and much needed, well, they have done a waiver on some taxes which affect inputs. And I'm going to use this platform here to say clearly that we are not for the taxation of agricultural inputs. We are for the full benefit to be passed to farmers. And Melissa has destroyed agriculture for us now to rebuild. And we also, in the rebuilding, need to look at the basis of taxation and the distortion that it can bring. So we welcome the waiver, and as inventories allow, it will be passed on to the farmers for them to benefit from it. But it's a conversation that needs to happen, and one that is long overdue in happening. On the issue of collaboration, private sector, public sector, I want to echo Dennis's question, but in my own style, I would not be true to myself if I didn't say that it is necessary for the input providers to meet with the Ministry of Agriculture to look at the numbers, because one of the things that Melissa has done, it has destroyed our agricultural base for us to rebuild it. There is no section of the island that was not affected. Therefore, it's not a normal replant. It's not a parish that was affected. It is the entire island and therefore the entire ecosystem. When I'm in crops, but when you just even look at the ruminant sector, 1.2 million small ruminants, it's not a tomorrow business for that to come back. That requires significant planning, and similarly too for crops. So we look forward to that discussion happening, because it affects what decisions the private sector actors are going to take. Seeds, just think about it. If the report is 42,000 hectares of crops destroyed, there is only so much seed on hand. There's almost only so much wash seeds that people are going to be using, thinking that they're getting ahead of the game when in fact they're holding themselves back. There's so much fertilizer that's going to be required over what period of time, etc., etc., etc. So those are some technical discussions that need to be had, and I'm looking forward to seeing my friends and colleagues and myself around that table having that discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that was a very good intervention. Clearly, as CEO RADA said, I think we need to formally plan that sit down, right? Probably very early in the new year, right? So that we can all be on the same page, because I agree. It will, as I said, take private sector support, and it has to take planning, right? So that we're aligned. It's very, very important. Happy you raised and highlighted that the government has moved to waive GCT and import duty on a number of seeds, especially our vegetable lines, and it is a part of a bigger drive. I think we had already announced it and we're working out a process, but now I think Hurricane Melissa has speeded up that process, and we're very happy for it because it is a part of a bigger drive by the Ministry of Agriculture, working with the Ministry of Finance to remove taxes on a number of our inputs, right? So I want the industry to take this as just first phase, right? We are looking to do more with the Ministry of Finance around that. And I think it's important, especially as you rightfully pointed out, this is not a sprint, this is a marathon. And it will need consistent support to get it done. So we do look forward, and we'll be monitoring the pass-through of those savings, because we literally want to see the reduction of seed prices so that more of our farmers will take up the mantle and will drive production. Very, very important.
All right, and now to our satellite side for the final question.
All right, good evening, class. I'm really happy for the assistance that the farmers have been getting.
All right, so while we fix that, a question from WhatsApp. Why is fisher folk insurance so high?
Thank you for that question. And I heard the minister speak previously about the insurance available to the farmers. I don't know where that person got that the fisher folk insurance is high, because I've been trying to get some myself, but they know who I am, so they won't allow me to get it. And there is insurance available for your vessels, for your engines, there is for your gear, there's insurance, health insurance, life insurance, and this is something that we at the National Fisheries Authority have been encouraging our fishers and fish farmers to take up. And I think the same thing RADA has been doing, and I am personally going to ask, and I know the minister has done this a few million times, to the farmers and the fishers. The minister and the ministry worked very hard to get these facilities available for the sector. Let us use them. Let us not wait until a disaster and then the NFA or RADA has to come to support you. There you will be independent, collecting your insurance and moving forward faster than everyone else. I am begging it. I've seen it in the sector where we lose our fishermen at sea and they didn't take up the facility and their families distressed and everything. It's not expensive, it's extremely reasonable. And I repeat that, it is extremely reasonable. Less than a couple pounds of fish can get you a life insurance policy. Thank you.
All right, thank you for reiterating. That question just came in, so we thought it would be important to share just to ensure that there is clarity. So for the next 2 to 3 weeks, CEOs, what should our stakeholders expect from the respective organizations? Beginning with Mr. Edmondson.
Thank you, Ms. Beckford. Of course, the next 2 to 3 weeks, next week will be Christmas. So you will see our effort intensify. Just as we use Westmoreland tomorrow as an example, where we'll be in Grange and we'll be bringing the wide RADA support to Westmoreland. We'll be distributing feeds, chicken, fertilizer. We'll be distributing banana planting suckers, sorrel seeds, Scotch bonnet seeds, some assorted vegetable planting materials. And, you know, I could name a lot of these input that we will be distributing. And this would be one of our bigger distribution effort that we have been on since the passage of Hurricane. So in the coming week, you'll see us building up, intensifying our distribution effort. You'll also see more of our clinics. Our principal directors have indicated to me that they will be now in the field 3 days per week. So, of course, you'll see them out there with our extension officers. So for those persons who are saying, Minister, that they're not senior extension officer, know that the principal directors are with them. You'll definitely see your extension officers because they are on the ground supervising and helping us to ensure that we have the boots out there. You'll see more of our drone technology coming across your lands. Not just to know we're moving away from the surveillance of damage, but trying to see what crops are growing. So you'll see that intensify also. You'll see us, our livestock support too is being intensified. You'll see us joining with the dairy board. I know the Beef Farmers Association is saying, Minister, that a lot has not been said about them, but rest assured, speaking for the Minister, you will see a lot of support coming for the beef farmers and a total ramp up after the Christmas of our services and our distribution. One thing I must mention, though, is that an area that we will be ramping up is our effort to train our farmers more into business operation. This will make them more resilient to these shocks that we are expecting from climate change.
I think, just to add, I think you left off something important, Mr. Edmondson. Access to farmers, the farm roads. I think in the next 2 weeks, we should be seeing work starting on our farm roads to improve access to the farmers, to work, allow some of these communities that are cut off from proper transportation in and out to have access.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much for that question, because I couldn't leave without sharing what we have planned and what we'll start. Continue for, first of all, our aquaculture sector. We'll be, in the next week, we'll start the distribution of 80 metric tons of tilapia rations. That is valued over $10 million to our tilapia farmers. We Feed TNT also donated 1,000 pounds of fish feed, which we'll be distributing. We'll be distributed over 160,000 advanced fry, which will equate in the next 5 to 6 months to 38,000 kilograms of tilapia on the market. We'll be assisting our oyster farmers in rebuilding their farms and providing them with spot to grow out. Our ornamental fish farmers, we will be providing shade cloth and feed for them to continue to develop their sector. Also, on the capture fisheries side, we'll be distributing 2,500-gallon water tanks to the fishing beaches to assist with hygiene and post-harvest handling of the fisheries products. We'll continue our distribution of wire and ropes and other fishing gear at landing sites, some that we have been to and some where we have not been to as yet. We'll be distributing boats and engines starting in the next 2 weeks. And last but not least, we will be doing the distribution of over $20 million of vouchers for the NFA humanitarian response for fishers and fish farmers to repair equipment or replace equipment that was either lost or damaged, and infrastructure through the passing of Hurricane Melissa. So I think that is what they'll see in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And again, continued distribution of ice and other supplies that are necessary to keep the industry running. Thank you.
Just a little addendum to something Mr. Edmondson mentioned, the beekeepers. The ministry, through the recovery task force, has bought probably all the bee sugar in Jamaica from the 2 factories, and we are, I think we spent over $38 million, and we are actively distributing probably about 5,000 bags, 100,000 bags of bee sugar as we speak, island-wide.
So, Camille, we just have 2 things to do. One, we're 95% of the irrigation service. We have 5% to just get that 5% up and continue to do what we're doing. And the moratorium ends on the 31st. Thank you very much.
I'll add to that, Mr. Jazz. You have gotten the funding to build your resilience even further. So you need to do that too.
Yes, and as we speak, that is in the procurement phase, and I can tell you we are full speed ahead on that one, Chair.
All right, so I am told that the satellite station is back and running, so we'll take the final question from them before the closing statement from Minister.
Evening, S. Jackson. As I was saying that there are a lot of farmers who haven't received any assistance as yet, hoping that it will be coming soon. Some of the assistance are given from the parish office, but some of us, our geographical location is far from the parish office. Is there anything in place to get the assistance close to the farmer? Because, for me, example, I'm closer to Clarendon Parish Office than the one in St. Catherine. It would have really been cost effective for me to be traveling to, like, Linstead to get a bag of fertilizer and so on. And another concern is that some of the cost for items now, for example, like hush money pepper, is very high. I know sometimes there are permissions given to import some of these things to alleviate the shortage. Should I be concerned that if I go into the production of Kashmani pepper, I will be competing with import when my crop is ready?
So, of course, we recognize that a number of farmers who would have been facing challenges with traversing to our and from our office for input supplies. And what we have been doing is to engaging with the farmers in the field. We have been transporting the input supplies to them through our RADA Connect that we tag that as up in the farmers' face, in the doorway of the farmers, where we bring the service and the input to the farmers. Through this RADA Connect initiative, we have been doing so. Of course, we will not able to reach all farmers immediately, but last I checked the numbers, we have touched over 16,000 farmers since the last 3 to 4 weeks. And I think, Minister, that's an impressive number for a single agency in the midst of a disaster recovery program to impact over 16,000, in fact, 16,550 farmers to date. And, in recognizing the logistics challenges, we have moved to mobilize our fleet of vehicles to help with transportation, and that range from pickups to truck. Wherever we have problems, we will call upon a ministry for their units to help us. So rest assured, we will be with the farmers in those areas that are hard to reach, in a very short time.
Yeah, so thanks for the questions and for raising a good point. As you heard from the CEO, just to pick up on that point, RADA, has been directed to come to the areas, right? It is important that we make it as easy as possible for farmers to get the benefit. So our focus is on primary production. Our focus is on trying to get the farmers back into production, and our strategy in relation to import is only to fill the gap that is left by primary production. So when we are producing sufficient numbers, there is no importation. So I want to say to the farmers, do not fear, go out and plant, because what we do is that on a weekly basis, we look at where we are in terms of our production numbers. And that's why it's important to register. That's why it's important to share the data. That's why it's important to keep close to your extension officer. If you can, download the RADA app, all of those things, ensure that we get the best data possible, because we don't look and just import wholesalely. We look and say that what we would consume for this month, for example, is 1 million X. Our production numbers are 100,000. And as such, we have a gap of 900,000, and we might import 700,000, right? That's how it is done. We also factor in that we may not record every single item that's out there, so there's always some space. So don't be afraid. The farmers who are out and the farmers who have Scotch bonnet pepper now are doing very well, right? Not a lot of farmers have it now, but those who have it now. So as production increases, any sort of import will decrease. So you don't have to worry about that.
Okay, thank you. All right. Is that the final statement, Minister? For the
so let me thank everybody again. As I was about thanking everybody, let me thank the farmers at our satellite station. Remember, there is a RADA WhatsApp number that you can message if you want to report your damage, if you have any issues. It's 876-436-8879. That's the RADA WhatsApp line, 876-436-8879, and somebody will respond and reach out to you. Again, I think it's a great initiative, and as you have heard, this is something that RADA will do more consistently. I want to thank our partners, our private sector partners, and members of the media who are here. We understand that the task ahead of us is tremendous. We also appreciate that it will take some time to reach to the majority of our farmers and fishers. But I hope that what people are seeing is that there is an overarching strategic drive to get this done. And what we expect, and what I expect over the next few weeks, is that every time you look, turn, listen, you see that some arm of the ministry is somewhere reaching to farmers to put them back into production. You would have heard about our apiculture, our beekeepers who are reaching out to you. You would have seen the jackal team on the ground today handing out fertilizer to our coffee farmers. You would have heard that we're going to be working on our farm roads. We have $800 million in relation to our farm road program. So in every area, the expectation is for us to intensify our efforts over the next few weeks. Melissa has taken a lot. It has taken our homes, our farms, our livelihoods, but it hasn't taken our spirit. It hasn't taken our drive. And the fact that our farmers and fishers are the most resilient people in the world, that will shine throughout this crisis. And with the help of the government and our agencies, we will ultimately feed Jamaica again. Thank you, and I look forward to more engagements.
Thank you, Minister. And a charge to keep we have at RADA, and we ask that the viewers actively participate in our upcoming forums and initiatives or trainings designed to support agricultural recovery and sustainable growth. We thank our farmers at the satellite stations, our specially invited guests, the media, and viewers. See you soon.